And welcome back to another edition of the On the Board Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Will Chiarucci, a.k.a. Will C., coming to you from where else? Long Island, New York, during this quarantine session of the On the Board Sports Podcast. And I am joined by my wonderful co-host, Shawn Thomas, a.k.a. Shawnee on the mic. Shawn, how are you, bud?
Well, good afternoon. Happy Friday to you, sir. I'm doing good. Quarantine in Queens, New York. How are you doing, sir?
Doing all right, man. Can't complain, in the basement over here, about to work out. But, we're working out here. We're trying to make our things, things happen. But the main thing is we have another very special guest with us. Joining us from Long Island, New York, as well, is the one and only Mikey Domagala of Inside Buzz. And Mike, long time no see, bud. You're doing a great job over there with what you're doing. How are you?
Thanks a lot, Will. And guys, thanks for having me on again. We did that episode a few months ago, talked a lot of sports, and here we are again in quarantine. I'm in my basement. You guys are, I know Will's in his basement. And let's do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mike, there was a lot of things going on before this whole quarantine. The NBA was gearing up for its playoff run at this point in time. And now that basketball has been shut down at this point because of this whole COVID-19 situation, talk to us about what you've been doing during this time. I know I've been seeing you interview a couple of former NBA players. I know you're doing your thing out there, and it's been absolutely unbelievable to see you grow your brand like this. Talk to us about how you've been managing to make out during this time.
Yeah, for sure. And, to start, it's horrible that we were going through one of the best NBA seasons in a really long time. And then the coronavirus has to shut it down. Tons of competition on both sides. And during this quarantine, I've been trying to, make content and interview people. Like you said, I'm still going strong on NBA Buzz with my 2.7 million followers across Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Keeping up with, who got the coronavirus, who's healthy with the coronavirus, who's on Instagram Live talking about different things, because that's all we've been seeing, a bunch of players on Instagram Live and, making these little chat rooms and kind of pushing quotes out there. And yeah, I've been doing interviews of my own on Inside Buzz, which is, an affiliate of NBA Buzz, my show that, I have my banner behind me, my Inside Buzz banner in my little studio. Right. So I've had Etan Thomas on this past week, right ahead of the MJ The Last Dance documentary. He was a former Washington Wizards teammate with MJ, so we chopped it up. He was giving me some exclusive MJ stories, and it popped off. I got lots and lots of great feedback from it. Recently had Nancy Lieberman during quarantine, so Hall of Famer. So, I'm trying to keep busy like you guys are. You guys have, been interviewing a lot of people as well.
Yeah, and the main thing here is, you got to put out the content, and, with everything going on, everybody's home, everybody's on their phones now just about each and every single minute. You just got to go out there and you got to push it and just see what happens, So just got to go out there and just build. Mike, I know you mentioned the 30 for 30 and interviewing Etan Thomas, former Washington Wizard. But I know you probably saw The Last Dance, and, what did you think of the whole 30 for 30?
Oh, man, it was phenomenal. I mean, when they announced that it was going to be, in April rather than in, I think, June, I mean, that's the best decision ESPN could ever make, because like you said, everybody is home. Everybody wants something new. So that's why it got all those millions of views. And yeah, it was incredible. I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan. That's 2 episodes of 10. We got 8 more coming, and social media blew up after it. Everybody was so excited to watch. I loved it. And, you got to blame Krause for splitting up that team, man. That's all you could say. That team should have stayed together probably another 2 years and won 1 to 2 more championships.
Ike, can you tell everyone out there, how did the NBA Buzz and an Inside Buzz, how did you get that going from the ground up to where you have it now doing so well?
Yeah, man, thank you. So I started at 12 years old. The NBA Buzz was started in January of 2012 on Facebook. That's when Facebook was that, that was the top. Oh yeah, it was popping. That was when it was the top dog in social media. over time, I just grew and grew, stayed very consistent. You know, because it's NBA content, that's what helps me grow so much. Everybody wants their NBA content, quick, their news and all unique posts. So I eventually ventured out to Instagram a couple years later, Twitter, and you know I'm a budding journalist. I'm in college at LIU Post on Long Island. So I figured, you know, family and friends know that Mikey Domagala is behind NBA Buzz. How can Mikey Domagala be at the forefront of NBA Buzz? That's why I created Inside Buzz, and you know it's been doing great ever since. Just kind of, I feel like I've kind of been growing my own personal following with Inside Buzz and connecting it to all my millions of fans on NBA Buzz.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome, bro. Mikey, like you said, we were in the midst of probably the greatest NBA scene in probably the last 10, 15 years, probably further than that. Do you think, one, the NBA will come back, or two, do you think the NBA should come back? Because you're hearing them say if they come back, there's not going to be no fans. And if they come back, they're going to have to move this around and that around. Do you think they will come back, or do you think they should?
Oh man, it's going to be tough. I think they should come back under circumstances where everybody will be safe, of course, no spreading of the virus. I think doing it without fans won't be that bad because we've had no sports for months now. Why would we care if there's fans in the crowd? We just want to see what's going on the court.
Right.
So if they should, that's my answer to if they should. How they can do it, ooh, that's another tough one. You know, this isn't a season that you just want to abandon. Like we said, this is one of the best seasons. Tons of rookies coming up, tons of fighting on both sides, a crazy playoff race in the Western Conference. Who's going to win? LeBron, Giannis, Boston, any of those top teams. So how they're going to do it, I think they're going to wait probably till August. Maybe just do like a 10-game remaining regular season, you know, maybe a 15-day in 10 games. Get it going, then hop right into the playoffs in late August into September. So, and then, you know, it messes everything up because the NBA season usually starts in October. If it ends in September, when's it going to start? Is it going to start on Christmas? It's going to – you don't know how this is going to affect the history books of the NBA and what's to come.
You know, you mentioned the NBA starting up, you know, trying to get back in August, September, everything like that. Rudy Gobert was really the domino that set everything else going forward here. You know, what was it like seeing Rudy Gobert? And then you have to hear about Donovan Mitchell as well. And both these guys are stars in their own right. Make no mistake about it. But Mike, what did you think about the whole situation with the way how the NBA handled it?
I think the NBA handled it well by just nipping it in the bud before tons and tons of players got diagnosed. You know, the NBA did well. Rudy Gobert, you know, he was pretty reckless, touching all those microphones after he was diagnosed.
Right.
And, you know, at the time, you didn't really know how much the coronavirus, you know, how much of an impact it could have. So, yeah, I'm blaming Gobert, but I'm still kind of, like, shaky on it. And I feel bad for Mitchell and all those guys who are also diagnosed. But, Will, I got to tell you, that day, that was one of the craziest days in my NBA reporting, you know, history so far. I was in Disney in Florida with my girlfriend. Right. We were in, I think, some park. And, you know, I lost my laptop on the plane days before the day I got to Disney, and I was freaking out.
Oh my God.
So, one, I couldn't post the NBA content, just games that were going on. Yeah. Two, the coronavirus stuff happens. So I'm in the park one night with my girlfriend. We're walking back to the bus, and I get the notification that the Thunder Jazz game was canceled, and nobody knew what was going on. Right. Then, you know, all the reports started coming out about Gobert. Oh, I was frantically posting from my phone all night long, doing whatever I could without my laptop. So that was a crazy night in the NBA, man.
Wow. Not only a crazy night in the NBA, just a crazy night in sports. You get to see the following couple of days afterward, the NHL winds up suspending its season. You know, MLB does the same thing in that sense, in that regard. it's just absolutely crazy what happened during that time. You know, just who would think that a virus like this would stop everything? And, you know, a month later, a month and a week later, 2 weeks later, here we are, you know, in our
Exactly.
business doing an interview like this. So
Exactly. And, you know, well, you know, we spoke about a lot of baseball and other sports the last time I was on the podcast.
Yep.
You know how much I love baseball. Man, baseball was a few days away from starting. Then all this had to hit. So, you know, we're all in the same boat without our sports.
absolutely.
Yeah, man. Ike, so I'm a Brooklyn Nets fan. Huge Brooklyn Nets fan. Obviously, they fired Kenny and Atkinson, and Kyrie got hurt. KD, he's going to be out the whole year, blah, blah, blah. I've been reading some reports that are saying that they want to get a third star during the summertime. Some names I've seen are CJ McCollum, Buddy Hield, Kevin Love, so on and so forth. Do you think they should get a third star? And if they do, is there any player that you see that can fit with KD and Kyrie Irving?
Good question, man. It's another tough one to answer because, you know, we haven't seen how KD, LeVert, and Kyrie would do on the floor together. And I think they're going to do tremendously well because that team is very deep. A missing piece, do they need a third star? I think LeVert is that budding star coming up. So I don't think they need a third star because you don't want to put too much power on a team with KD and Kyrie because they want their time to shine as well.
Right.
So I think a piece for them would maybe like making a trade for Jared Allen for a nice power forward piece. Who that would be off the top of my head, I'm not really sure, but maybe, you know, across the bridge in New York, maybe looking at like a younger type Bobby Portis could probably fit in with that team. You know, this is off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a lot of different options out there, but I think they don't need an extra star. They need another nice piece who could really, you know, help the team.
Mike, speaking of the offseason coming up, the NBA draft is going to be it's going to be interesting because we saw the NFL draft last night do its thing, and you get to see the NBA draft and what they're going to do next. With everything that's gone on, number one, who do you think the number one pick is going to be? We had on Corey Homicide Williams, an NBL analyst, and he's a legend here in New York for his basketball, playing street ball, everything like that. And he made it over to Australia, and he killed it over there. Now he's doing his thing over there in Australia. Now, LaMelo Ball's playing in the NBL. Jalen Green, we got to see him go over to the G League, signing an $800,000 contract, right? Two-part question. Who's going number one overall in this year's draft? Number two, Jalen Green going out of high school to the G League is going to be the domino effect for what here in your mind?
Sure. Number one overall pick, LaMelo Ball. I'll tell you why. He has the most potential out of everybody. If you see what he was like 2 years ago in high school to what he is now, he's a much sharper player. He was dominating the competition in Australia. And, you know, he fits the NBA game right now. I was never crazy about his game, and I'm still not even crazy about it. But I know since he's so young and he's so raw, he could hone those skills. And in this run-and-gun three-point league, he could, you know, he could drive, he could dunk, and he could shoot. So if he gets a good coach and the right people around him, I could see him, one, becoming better than his brother Lonzo. You know, Lonzo's a great player in his own right, but LaMelo is more of just a pure scorer. So, yeah, I see LaMelo going number one because I think he'll bring a fan base as well. Like if the New York Knicks get the number one pick, do you know how crazy people will go if they take LaMelo Ball? They'll think he's like this young god for the Knicks because he has all that hype behind him, that the New York Knicks need. And two, that question about the high school players skipping college into the G League, man, I love it. The NCAA is shaking in their boots for sure, man. You know, these NBA G League teams, they're pulling away all these young guys who were supposed to be these college stars, and they're taking them into the NBA. So, hey, they're getting the bag, they're getting the money, and, you know, they have a right to do what they want. You know, not getting paid in college, it's a tough thing to go through, especially if you stay there 2 or 3 years and you're this poor superstar. So I think it's, it'll be happening a lot more in the future. And every day I see more reports that more kids are doing it.
Yeah, Mikey. Yeah, that's a great question there. When the season was going on, LeBron was having a great year. Giannis was having a great year. James Harden was having a great year. Mikey, who was your front runner up until the season paused for the NBA MVP? Was it the Freak? Was it LeBron, Harden, or was it somebody else?
For me, it was the Greek Freak. I think he was gonna, win back-to-back MVPs. LeBron James was for sure nipping at his heels. But if you look at the stats, people like to say, "Oh, LeBron's 35. He's putting up these amazing stats." It's 100% true. He's leading the league in assists. Like that's something. It's something crazy for a 35-year-old to do. Changing up his game style to become this point guard now. Incredible. He's really making his case in the greatest of all time debate this season and really pushing himself forward. Still have MJ number one, but LeBron's there. But yeah, I got Giannis. The Bucks record. Giannis leads in every category over LeBron except assists, and numbers and records don't lie. And I think Giannis has the upper hand on him.
Interesting right there. Mike, who do you see as your rookie of the year before the year got suspended?
Ja Morant for sure. This is another race like Giannis and LeBron. We obviously saw Ja Morant killing it in Memphis. Zion Williamson coming out the gate hot. But you can't play 15 games and win the Rookie of the Year. So I think Ja Morant has it solidified in that NBA poll by all those ESPN or media guys. They had Ja Morant, with the skyrocketed win. So I agree with them.
Interesting. Very interesting. Mike, I know you're a baseball fan, and, everybody had the Yankees pegged up to be the next best thing right here, going out there and, going into 2020 and just killing it. But obviously the season didn't happen. It's not happening right now, obviously. But for you, I know that we wanted to all see baseball back. I know Shawn's a Mets fan. But let's be realistic right now. Where do you see baseball starting up again? Is it going to be July 4th? Is it going to be, somewhere after that? Where do you see it happening?
Well, first off, Shawn, I got to tell you, we're on the opposite side of the spectrum with our sports teams, man. I'm a Knicks fan, you're a Mets fan. I'm a Yankee fan. You're a Mets
beef,
fan.
Mikey. We got beef.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Well, good question, man. The MLB and the NBA are a little different. The NBA, you get all these sweaty guys sweating all over each other, potentially, spreading a virus of some sort, right?
Right.
The MLB, it's a little more spread out. Yeah, they're touching the same baseball and everything, but we heard those rumors that they might want to start in, what was it? Will, I know you would know, Arizona, Texas. They're thinking about something.
Doing something in Arizona for sure, and maybe doing something in Florida, but having the players not being near their families, they're not really happy about that. B, trying to compress everything in after having, a month or two off, that the players union is going to come in and do something about it, and C, with everything that's going on, we know that the president wants to see the, everything going on with regards to its, trying to get the economy all back together, and sports is definitely that. We've been seeing too on these whole Instagram, on Twitter, people voicing their opinions on what should happen with regards to, bringing people back. You're hearing about one guy I know in particular brought up the fact that here is the MLB. Let's say teams want to sell tickets. It'll only be a limited amount of inventory. You'll have your 6-foot rule. You'll have your concession stands open, but you won't have your team stores open, everything like that. You've had Randy Levine come out, one of the Yankees suits and big time people that is out there, who runs the Yankees, and basically just says, sports without fans isn't right and it isn't worth it. So I got to ask you, Mike, right now, the NBA and the NHL may have their seasons canceled, may not. They may come back in June, July. How would you feel about it if the fans, weren't allowed back in watching the game. And two, we know that ticket sales would be through the roof because of this, you know? So what's your take on that?
It's funny, I feel like you need fans at an MLB game, whereas an NBA game, obviously you still want the fans there, but it's a little different. I feel like the MLB experience is with the fans. Somebody hits a home run, they see all the fans going crazy trying to catch the ball, where the NBA is a little different like that. Oh, man, playing with fans, I think the NBA could get through. The MLB, I don't know. And I think, like you said, July 4th, that might be, depending on what's going on in America, what's going on with, the laws of if they could come back or not in certain cities, that would be a monumental day of the year to come back on where everybody would be watching baseball,
Yeah, it would be. Definitely. Yeah.
Mikey, you touched on it. You're a fan of the Knicks. I'm sorry to hear that, by the way, but anyway, they weren't having another good year on the court. Fizdale, he got the boot. What direction do you think Mr. Rose has to go in to get this team back on the right course? I'm assuming they're going to bring in a new guy to run the team, coach-wise. But what direction would you go? Would you just build this team through the draft, or knowing that they're going to have finally some money to spend on guys, would you go the free agency route, a combination of both? What is it going to take to get the Knicks back to being the team that we all want them to be?
Man, it's tough. It's really tough because this past season I was excited about the Knicks and they let me down again. The Knicks have good players, but they just can't make any progress at all. I think what they have to do, they need to make the right draft picks. Everybody thought Kevin Knox was going to be very good, but he really hasn't lived up to anything. And that kind of was a mistake in the draft, and there's plenty of great players in that draft, so that's a mistake there. So I think it's a combination of both, like you mentioned. If the number one pick falls, they need LaMelo Ball to be a player who can get the ball in the bucket and bring media attention back to the team and people all excited. Also, with Leon Rose there, he has plenty of high-profile clients that he was an agent for. So if he could get somebody there, maybe, Brandon Ingram. Maybe he doesn't like that Zion's taking the wave in New Orleans now. So a young star that people want to come out and see is when the progress will beginning to, start being made, whether that's LaMelo and BI or just one of them.
Yeah, definitely an engineer. Ike, speaking of young stars, one of my favorite players in the league is Jason Tatum. I think Jason Tatum is going to be a star, or he is probably a star right now. Do you think he can ever get to a point where he could be the best player in the league? Like, how high of a ceiling do you think he has? Because he's one of my favorite players in the league. I remember the rookie year of the game 7, he and LeBron went toe-to-toe. And I would never forget the step-back 3 that he hit in LeBron's face. I said, who is this kid? And he's just continued to go up and up. How high do you think he can go?
Man, you took the words out of my mouth. That was the first thing I was going to mention. And, that step-back 3 and all his smooth play against LeBron. Don't forget about that poster, Shawn. You remember when he put him on that poster?
Yeah.
Social media blew up, and, man, his ceiling is very high. Best player in the NBA? It's tough. There's so many great young stars now. Luka, Giannis, Ja Morant coming up. If you look what Ja will be in like 3 or 4 years. Right. I could see Tatum being easily top 8, probably top 5. And, his smooth play, you see what he's doing with Boston this year. He really, took the bull by the horns, and he's really leading that team as a new star in the league. And it's nice to see.
It definitely is.
Mike, you're doing your thing now with Inside Buzz and, NBA Buzz, doing a great job. I also seen that you're working with SNY, doing your thing over with SNY right now. What's it like working over there in a being with almost the sports leader in New York right now?
Oh man, I mean, it was awesome. So I was there for like 3 to 4 months. It was just all great stuff in that internship program. It was amazing working there. During this quarantine, you know, I've been doing some stuff from home, but, you know, as an intern doing stuff from home, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, everything at SNY was great. That just really pushed my journalism career. I met a lot of great people. Yesterday for a school assignment, I interviewed Chris Williamson, who's a reporter and a TV host there. So just all awesome stuff. I learned a lot about, you know, working in the newsroom, getting breaking news coming in. Like I remember when the Carlos Beltran news came in, I was at my desk at SNY, and that was the first time I ever saw a newsroom like blow up and everybody's frantically running back and forth because they got to cover this news. Who's covering this? What shows are covering that? So yeah, that was a great experience, and I would love to, in my professional career, you know, find myself back there again in some way in the future.
Absolutely right there, man. You know, doing a great job, no matter how you look at it, Mike. You know, real quick here, what do you see happening first year? Do you see baseball starting up again, or do you see basketball and hockey starting up at this point in time?
So tough to say. You know, President Trump had that whole conversation with all the team owners. I think there's going to be one major date that all leagues might come back. You know, all the leagues who are, you know, were in progress. Really tough to answer, Will. You know, it's like, when will it be? Because who knows how much longer this is going to linger on. You know, is it even going to be safe to even go outside when it's done so it doesn't linger any further? So, you know, just got to keep watching, you know, Governor Cuomo every day and hear what he says, listen to Trump every day and all the high-ranking officials and see what they say. And, you know, we could base it off that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely could base it off of that.
Mikey, I do have one baseball question for you. Being a Yankee fan, obviously you and Will, me and Will did a show, and literally a minute or two after we ended the recording, the Red Sox news broke of the punishment or lack thereof that they got. As a fan of a team that lost to that team, what are your thoughts on the punishment or lack thereof that they got?
Oh, man. I watched that game. Just got back from my girlfriend's house. It was late at night. That last Yankee game where Altuve hit that, you know, game winner off Chapman. And I remember I was jumping up and down when DJ LeMahieu tied it up in right field. Oh my God! Thought, oh my God, they're alive. They're gonna survive this. And then Altuve hits that nuke to left field, and he suspicious because he gave Chapman that little look. I mean, Chapman gave Altuve that little look, like Chapman knew that Altuve knew that pitch was coming. And, you know, that kind of went under the wayside a little bit, and then everything came out and broke. And, you know, who knows if Altuve knew that pitch, he probably knew the pitch was coming. If Chapman knew that he knew it was coming. And, man, it's heartbreaking knowing that the Astros and the Red Sox did all that stuff because the MLB is one of the best leagues in the world. And, you know, this kind of corruption kind of is in there, kind of messing it up behind the scenes.
Right.
Certain teams could have won. You know, Aaron Judge, who's not a guy to really speak up and say, you know, talk some smack. He really spoke to the media about that, and he was talking how, you know, disgusted he was with that Astros team.
And, you know, you look at everything that's gone on in the wake of this whole Boston Red Sox, Houston Astros scandal. 3 managers got fired in this span, and it really changed the way how baseball is perceived. And another thing, too, that, you know, I'd like to add is the fact that, you know, people forget that the Washington Nationals are your World Series champions after beating out the Houston Astros in 7 games. And, you know, really, I mean, think about it. You know, here's a team in the Nationals that won absolutely no games at home and won everything on the road, came back in Game 7 and just absolutely took the fight to the Astros, and they wound up winning it all. And yet nobody's giving them their due. You know, is it because of what had happened during the offseason with the Garrett Cole signing, with the whole Astros Red Sox saga, you know, with them cheating? But what's your take on that, man?
I mean, listen, you know, when a lower tier team kind of wins the World Series, sometimes it goes, it gets talked about for a couple weeks, then it just goes quiet about them. Like if the Yankees won, well, I mean, this, we would be talking about it and hearing it for months and months and years. The Nationals lower tier team, but also, the cheating scandal really overtook kind of, it was after the World Series, obviously, but remembering that the Nationals even won, like you said. And yeah, you got to give credit to them, though. They're the underdog. They really came out fighting, and they really came out swinging on that Astros team. And you know what? I'm happy for them because they beat the Astros.
Absolutely, and they had such a great, not a great history, but a history of like just going in the postseason back in 2012. They could never close the deal, and they were also known as the Astros. So who would have thought that as well? So good for them. Congratulations on our nation's capital winning it all, and just got to see what happens there.
Yeah, definitely will.
Yeah, but Mikey, man, how do the people follow you, and how do the people follow Inside Buzz and NBA Buzz?
Yeah, man. So I'm gonna throw out a lot of names that sound similar here, but
Go for it.
On Facebook, you could follow it at just straight up NBA Buzz. On Instagram, it's at official NBA Buzz, as well on Twitter, official NBA Buzz. Right. Personally, you could follow me at Mikey Domagala. That's on Instagram and on Twitter. For Inside Buzz, you could check it out on YouTube. Just type in my name and Inside Buzz, or one or the other. And everything could be found on official NBA Buzz Instagram and NBA Buzz on any platform. You'll see all my interviews in different tabs. You could go on YouTube and watch an Inside Buzz episode and get connected to NBA Buzz through links. So I link everything together. So yeah, if you want to check me out, check some stuff out that I've been doing, that would be awesome. Guys, thanks for having me on and really giving me this platform again. Will, you are the man.
Mike,
and Shawn as well. I didn't forget about you over there, man.
I appreciate you, Mikey. Before you go, can I ask you one more thing?
Yeah, no, keep going. Let's keep talking.
When the season comes back, who do you think makes it to the NBA Finals, and who do you think wins? Well, I believe at the beginning of the season, I had Clippers and Philly, and I had the Clippers winning it all. I'm still confident in that. I'm not confident that they'll be playing Philly, but when the season comes back, who do you think makes it to the finals, and who do you think wins?
Got to tell you, man, I had that Philly team. I had high hopes for Philly, and they're not doing a thing.
Nah.
To answer your question, I always had Bucks Lakers. I thought it would be a really chippy playoff series if the Lakers and the Clippers meet, and of course it still will. But I think the Lakers and the Bucks meet up, and man, Shawn, it's going to be one of the best finals games in years. We look at we saw the Warriors and the Cavs go at each other. I feel like it just felt like every year it was so
right
out, and LeBron versus Giannis with Anthony Davis in the mix would be incredible. So I got the Lakers and the Bucks in the finals if the NBA season comes back.
Interesting. Right there, man. Very interesting. Lakers and Bucks, two favorites coming into the year at that point in time, and now anybody can really win it at that point.
Oh yeah, I saw. Sorry to cut you off. Well, I saw a quote from Danny Green on the Lakers. He said any team seeded 1 through 8 can win this after this quarantine because who knows who's been staying in shape during the quarantine. Who knows, who doesn't need to get their touch back if the team chemistry could have, went down. Anything could happen just because of this quarantine.
Absolutely.
True. That's true.
For sure. Mikey, thank you so much for sacrificing some of your time on a Friday to come talk basketball and sports with us in general. You're always welcome back on the program. It's been absolutely great having you back on, bud, talking sports. Keep on killing it with what you're doing right now with the content, man. Keep pushing it out there. You're doing a wonderful job.
Fellas, right back
Mikey,
at you.
thank you.
All right, guys. Will and Shawn, thanks a lot. And Will, listen, you don't got to thank me for coming on a Friday. Every day is Friday during this quarantine.
That's a great point. That's a good point.
All right, guys. Thanks again. I'll talk soon.
All right, Mikey.
Be safe.
All right, Mikey.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the one and only Mikey Domagala from NBA Buzz and Inside Buzz. Kid's got the whole world ahead of him, bright future. Shawn, any final thoughts on this episode?
Well, no final thoughts. Shout out to Mikey again for coming on. And, well, I agree with you. The kid's got a bright future doing so many great things. So very interested in seeing the Inside Buzz and the NBA Buzz grow and grow. And knowing that he's behind it, I'm a big fan of his. So awesome job by Mikey and also by you, my friend.
Absolutely. Guys, it's been a pleasure. We'll talk to you guys soon. For everybody here at On the Board Sports, for the aforementioned Mikey Domagala, and for Shawn Thomas, a.k.a. Shawny on the mic, I am your host, Will Chiarucci, a.k.a. Will C. logging out. TGIF, happy Friday, and stay safe, all you essential workers out there. God bless all you guys. Peace out.
All right, I'm going to head